Goatse Haupa. Hi everyone. Tonight I'm going to be actually rereading the first part of chapter 5, Sixth Direction Redemption, because I'm not sure what happened last night with the connection and the video didn't save, so it's like, okay, I'll just read it again. And it looked like there was only one of you at the live, so I apologize if you're watching this twice, but I appreciate your support and appreciate you being here. With that, I'm just going to read to the same place that I read up to last night. I already had the bookmark, the bestie bookmark in there, but I'm just going to reread it so that hopefully it'll save this time. And I had also mentioned last night that these next couple of chapters have some things that have been purposefully omitted from the story that was told to me by my Dal, my grandmother, because those things I feel are more sacred. So I mention them without getting into detail and then continue on with the story. So if you already know this story, then you'll notice that. And then if you're thinking like, hey, you didn't mention this, it's like, that's why. It's because I feel like that's part of our sacred beliefs and traditions that need to be kept sacred and held with respect. But as far as the rest of the story, it is a good story to tell. And then I had found out it's already out there anyway, published by people that aren't even native, so I don't know how they heard this one, but in any case, this is my version of it. And again, that's why I left certain things out. So, and if you do know these things, I'd really appreciate it if you don't put them in the comments, just keep it to yourself. Anyway, with that having been said, I shall go ahead and continue it. Chapter 5, Sixth Direction Redemption. The morning light illuminated the landscape, dancing along the adobe homes of their pueblo, making the houses shimmer in an aura of gold as Sunflower followed her younger brother to their village. A dense cluster of pinon juniper and sagebrush near the outskirts called to them, promising welcome concealment for the mountain lion who had once been human. Her younger brother walked alongside the underbrush, while she moved cautiously within it, each step deliberate as she sought the perfect hiding place. Her paws moved with the grace that belied her inner turmoil, as the sharp, fresh scent of sage mingled with the earthy aroma of desert soil, invigorated by a hint of petrichor. He circled the brush, ensuring she remained out of sight by instructing her to adjust her position until her tail and paws were entirely concealed. Meanwhile, he carefully stepped on her paw prints, masking them with his own moccasin marks to further obscure the trail. Once he was certain that the arrangement covered Sunflower entirely, he turned to look at her with a look of intense determination. In a hushed, urgent whisper, he urged her to stay hidden, his voice trembling with a mix of anxiety and devotion. "I'll go get our brother and call for you when it's safe," he said, his voice heavy with a protective urgency. He implored her to remain unseen, his eyes filled with a deep, unspoken fear. "We can't risk someone from the village mistaking you for a predator again," he said, his voice breaking slightly at the edge of vulnerability. The thought of losing her once more, especially now when she was so near to returning to their family, crashed upon him with waves of fresh grief. Sunflower, her tawny fur blending seamlessly with the surrounding foliage, nodded with a soft, almost imperceptible movement. Her golden eyes, filled with hopeful apprehension about their plan, met his. She crouched lower, the soft rustling of the sagebrush seeming to echo the quiet pounding of her heart. Carrying the bag of quail over his right shoulder, her younger brother made his way toward their older brother's house, his young mind swirling with a tumult of emotions. The familiar path seemed longer than usual, each step heavy with the weight of what he was about to reveal. Despite not knowing how, or if, Sunflower could return to human form, the thought of her returning to their family, in any form, kept him moving quickly. Just before entering the pueblo, her younger brother glanced back at her momentarily. With a final reassuring grin, He turned away, his pace quickening with each step. Sunflower watched him until his silhouette disappeared behind a neighbor's house as he rounded a corner. The waking sounds of the village began to fill the crisp morning air with the laughter of children and the conversations of adults starting their day. In the stillness of her hiding spot, Sunflower could only hope that her family's love and determination would be enough to bridge the chasm that now separated them. With her eyes remaining vigilant, she studied the landscape for any sign of her brother's return. Meanwhile, her younger brother cradled the bag of quail close to him as he navigated the bustling streets of their pueblo, mindfully avoiding the neighbors going about their morning routines. He responded politely, but briefly, to those who greeted him, eager to avoid any conversations as he made his way swiftly across the village. Upon reaching his older brother's door, he called out, requesting entry. The door opened immediately, revealing his older brother's face, which was a mix of eager curiosity and concern. His piercing gaze shifted between the bag of quail and his younger brother's face. The younger brother stepped past him, entering the home with an unmistakable sense of urgency. Presenting the bag, heavy with quail, to their older brother, the younger brother began to explain the situation. His words tumbled out in a rush as he began to share the astonishing truth of what he had experienced and witnessed. He spoke of Sunflower, now a mountain lion with an identical birthmark. He mentioned waking up to find this bounty of quails she had gathered for them, and of his own struggle to grasp the bizarre, unsettling reality. Their older brother listened with a furrowed brow, skepticism evident as he absorbed the younger brother's account of Sunflower's transformation. The notion that their sister had become a mountain lion seemed almost too far-fetched to believe. In that moment, the older brother recalled stories whispered among the village about people from another tribe who performed certain rituals to gain the power to transform into animals, often for malevolent purposes. However, he had never heard of anyone being transformed into an animal by another, nor had he heard of someone being unable to return to their human form. While they spoke, the older brother's wife gently took the bag from her husband and moved to the kitchen, where she began preparing the quail. Within minutes, the comforting aroma of simmering spices contrasted sharply with the thick tension of the room. Her movements were deliberate, yet her thoughts were consumed by the strange story unfolding and the hope that her best friend might still be alive, even in a different form. Doubt clouded her husband's thoughts as he grappled with the earnestness of his younger sibling's account. The persistent insistence on Sunflower's presence weighed heavily on him, forcing him to confront the unsettling possibility that the incredible tale might actually be true. Despite his doubts, he recognized the need to investigate further. To ensure safety against any potential danger, he decided to arm himself with obsidian daggers. Selecting the blades with care, their sharp edges catching the light, he strapped them securely to his belt. This decision, driven by a mix of caution and lingering disbelief, reflected his internal conflict between hope and skepticism. With his preparations complete, the brothers left the house, eager to confront the reality of Sunflower's situation, their every step weighed down by the uncertainty of what lay ahead. When they stepped outside the pueblo, the younger brother took the lead, guiding the way to where Sunflower waited among the pinon juniper and sagebrush. At the younger brother's call, Sunflower emerged slowly from her hiding spot, her tawny fur blending with the sandstone of the path they stood upon. The older brother's skepticism was evident, but as he observed Sunflower's calm demeanor and response to her name, his doubts began to waver. As she approached them, he instinctively gripped a dagger, but his hold relaxed when he saw the unmistakable birthmark on her shoulder, undeniable proof of her true identity. Now convinced, the older brother observed how her altered demeanor reflected a profound acceptance and adaptation to her new form. The walls of disbelief in his mind began to crumble as he grasped the reality of her transformation. He let go of the dagger he had been prepared to use against her, if she were not truly Sunflower, and extended his open palm to her. Sunflower slowly lowered her head towards his palm, exhaling twice upon his fingertips before resting her chin in his palm. He dropped to his knees and threw his arms around her neck, embracing the sister he had thought was lost forever. Standing up and gently releasing her from the embrace, he instructed his younger siblings to stay where they were until he returned from the pueblo. He assured them he would let the villagers know about Sunflower's presence in her mountain lion form, so they would be prepared and avoid any actions that might harm her. Carefully making his way back to the pueblo, the older brother moved quickly, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. He reflected on the profound change Sunflower had undergone and the weight of the responsibility he now bore. He knew he had to navigate this situation delicately, balancing his role as a protective sibling with the expectations of his status within the community. Upon reaching the village, he took a deep breath and headed towards the kiva, steeling himself for the reactions he would face. He was determined to ensure that Sunflower's return, despite her transformation, would be met with the respect and care she deserved. Upon arriving, he informed the men of the kiva about the mountain lion he was bringing in, emphasizing that it was none other than his sister, Sunflower. Despite their evident surprise, they refrained from questioning him, acknowledging his significant status in the community, which had grown tremendously during Sunflower's absence. Once the village was informed, the older brother returned to his younger siblings and led them through the streets of the pueblo. As they neared their parents' home, some villagers greeted Sunflower with wary curiosity, their voices tinged with a mix of wonder and apprehension. Others watched from the shadows, their whispers a mix of awe and apprehension as they tried to come to terms with the sight of the mountain lion that was once their beloved Sunflower. When the siblings arrived in front of their parents' home, their older brother quickly slipped inside, his face a mixture of determination and concern. He hurriedly explained the situation to their parents and grandparents, his voice carrying a blend of urgency and gentleness that emphasized the gravity of the moment. After allowing them a moment to absorb the startling news, he opened the door to let his younger siblings enter. As Sunflower stepped inside, her gaze immediately found her mother. Overwhelmed with emotion, her mother fell to the floor, tears streaming down her face as she reached out to embrace her daughter. Sunflower, her tawny fur glistening in the dim light, pressed her head against her mother's shoulder, offering what comfort she could in her new form. Their father, his own eyes glistening with unshared tears, wrapped his arms around both women, holding them tightly as if to make up for the lost time. After a long moment of shared sorrow and joy, he gently released them, allowing Sunflower to move towards her grandparents. Seated near the fireplace, her grandparents looked up with a mixture of awe and affection. Sunflower approached them with a gentle grace, her presence bridging the gap between her past and present. The reunion was silent but deeply expressive, marked by the tender gestures of her grandparents as they welcomed her back into their fold, scratching her head as she greeted them. Despite her transformation, the warmth of family enveloped her, blending the joy of reunion with the lingering ache of the joy they had all endured. Once the initial flood of emotions had begun to settle, the oldest brother spoke softly, suggesting they seek help from the medicine woman who lived alone just outside their pueblo. Renowned for her deep connection with the animal world, he felt she might be the one person who possessed the knowledge, if not the means, to help Sunflower return to her human form. The family agreed emphatically, immediately preparing offerings for the medicine woman. Meanwhile, the older brother went to fetch his wife and their daughter. He knew it was important for his wife, Sunflower's best friend, to see her after so long. He also wanted their daughter, named after Sunflower, to meet the aunt she had heard so much about, but had not yet met. When they returned, Sunflower's best friend embraced her with tears of relief and joy, while their daughter gazed up in fearless wonder at the mountain lion who shared her name. The older brother's wife brought with her the best of the baked goods she had prepared, adding a personal touch to their offerings, along with the largest of the quails Sunflower had hunted. The family now had a wealth of gifts for the medicine woman, the finest of the turquoise jewelry crafted by the younger brother, the sturdiest of the leather medicine belt pouches made by the oldest brother, ceramic cookware made by their father and painted by their mother, along with the freshly baked goods from the eldest brother's wife, and the best of the quail Sunflower had hunted. Each item was chosen with care to convey their respect and gratitude for the medicine woman's potential and powerful assistance. With the offerings gathered, the brothers prepared to embark on the next crucial step of their journey, hopeful that the medicine woman's wisdom would lead them to the solution they most desired. Leaving Sunflower in the safety of their parents' home, they set out for the medicine woman's dwelling, located just north of the pueblo. After a short hike, the brothers arrived at the garden in front of the medicine woman's home, a place steeped in the ancient knowledge of the pueblo and the mysteries of the natural world. They called out a warm greeting as she tended to her plants, to which she responded with a silent smile. With respectful reverence, they presented their carefully chosen offerings, laying out the turquoise jewelry, the leather medicine belt pouch, the freshly baked goods, the ceramic cookware, and the finest quail before her. The medicine woman accepted the gifts with a thoughtful nod, her eyes reflecting a profound understanding of the significance behind each item. The older brother began explaining their plight, conveying their hope to restore Sunflower to her human form. He detailed how she had been transformed into a mountain lion against her will, clarifying that this was distinct from the magic used by the shapeshifters of another tribe, whose practices they had respectfully avoided. After a thoughtful pause, the medicine woman spoke, agreeing to help them restore Sunflower to her human form. Her voice, which was rich with experience and wisdom, acknowledged the complexity of their situation and the sincerity of their wish. Without shying away from the challenges that lay ahead, she spoke faster, her words carrying a solemn tone, preparing the brothers for the arduous journey that would be required. She emphasized that the path would be full of difficulties, each step demanding both physical endurance and spiritual strength. The medicine woman's voice, rich with ancient resonance, painted a vivid picture of the 6 sacred directions that would guide their quest: the north, the west, the south, the east, the zenith, and the nadir. Each direction held its own sacred significance and contained vital elements necessary to restore Sunflower to her human form. She described the north, where the icy breath of the mountains imparted secrets of endurance and clarity. She spoke of the west, where the setting sun's warm embrace revealed lessons of healing and restoration. In the south, bathed in the life-giving warmth of the sun, she said they would learn about transformation and vitality. In the east, where dawn's first light touched the earth, she mentioned the wisdom to be found in renewal and new beginnings. To the zenith, the highest point of the sky, she hinted at secrets of divine connection and higher understanding, while also emphasizing the danger of resisting to the pull to return from such a heavenly place. Lastly, she described the nadir, deep within the earth, where the mysteries of introspection and the unconscious might be revealed, but only if they were ready. The medicine woman's gaze was intense, her eyes reflecting the weight of the knowledge she imparted. Her tone, both reverent and cautionary, underscored the formidable dangers they would face. The brothers exchanged solemn glances and nodded in agreement, recognizing that each sacred area described was not merely a distant location, but a spiritual realm, brimming with its own trials and revelations. They understood, on a profound level, that this journey would require their utmost respect, courage, and perseverance. And with that, we're at the top of page 79. We'll continue with this tomorrow. For everyone here, I really appreciate you being here. For everyone who catches these replays, I really appreciate you watching. It means a lot to me to be able to, share this story, but also be able to see that people actually care, people are actually paying attention. That was one thing that my dad would always tell me, that she appreciated that I would listen, that I would ask questions, and that I paid attention. And I feel a similar feeling now, like I think to what she was trying to describe to me, how she felt like she was happy that I was listening. And so when I see you all here, it's like I'm happy that you all are listening, and there's no convenient single word that I can just put that under, but it's true. I'm happy that you all are listening, and it makes me feel really beyond happy on so many levels. So Mom and thank you all very much. And I look forward to reading the second half of this chapter to you all tomorrow night. In the meantime, good night or good day, whatever it is, wherever you are. I wish you all a good night from where I'm at, and I'll see you all tomorrow.